Gary Gensler, the SEC, giving the nod to BlackRock, in my opinion, to say, okay, throw the crypto community a bone, saying, all right, we'll give you guys this one. We'll do a spot ETF. Bitcoin is very vulnerable. Again, yes, it's a good little move short term. I do think we could retest 30,500, but as long as that doesn't break, Bitcoin remains extremely vulnerable and in a progressive bear market.
In today's video, Chief Market Strategist of InTheMoneyStocks.com Gareth Soloway tells us all about his latest analysis of the charts as well as his predictions and price targets for Bitcoin and Ethereum. He believes that we could possibly see Bitcoin's low in the coming months. Soloway shares his opinion regarding high inflation rates, the stock market, the crypto market, and the Fed.
We're going to get into some big stuff here. We're going to talk crypto, Bitcoin breaking out, altcoins starting to bounce. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the BlackRock ETF. I'm sure everyone's heard about it, but really, what's the key? Why is that helping so much? It's not the ETF, folks. That has little to no impact overall in the near term. It's a sentiment change, and that is going to be key. It's Gary Gensler, the SEC, giving the nod to BlackRock, in my opinion, to say, okay, throw the crypto community a bone. And just again, think about all the crackdowns they've done, the amount of money that people have lost on altcoins. And again, we know that Bitcoin's not a security. Gary Gensler, the SEC, has said that. So that means ultimately that they're throwing a bone to the crypto community, saying, all right, we'll give you guys this one. We'll do a spot ETF. Now, it hasn't been approved, so don't get me wrong. There's always a small chance that it doesn't get approved. But, you have BlackRock with what, $11 trillion under management with ties to the U.S. government like this. You can't tell me that after everything that the SEC did a week or two ago, and then this news hits, you can't tell me that there's not some sort of collusion there between the SEC and BlackRock. BlackRock, you can't tell me, didn't go to the SEC and said, hey, we want to do this. Will you back us? Will you let this happen? In my opinion, they said, yes, we will let this happen. Now, if we go to the charts, getting right into the charts here, guys. So we see Bitcoin had a down-sloping trend line. It came into this key support just below 25,000, up-sloping trend line, flat top right here. We came up, we broke out. Now again, for me, let's talk a little bit about my price actions. All right, but here, as we were coming down, I was short Ethereum and Bitcoin, okay? Now Ethereum, if we know, and I went over this chart last time, look at this pivot point, look at what we hit. Right when we got there, I sent out the alert, the trade signal to exit your short, take profits right there on Ethereum because the chart alerted me to do that. What I did in addition, I said, you know what, I'm going to hold Bitcoin on the short side. By the way, we're in the money on that short from about 30, just under 30,000. And the idea was here is that we take some of the profits on the short off the table to kind of put those in our pocket. Pocket that stuff. Always try to pocket some profits. Then turn around and say, okay, if the crypto market continues to deteriorate, Bitcoin can likely come down more. Now, Bitcoin hasn't done that, so I'm looking on a retrace from this breakout to probably exit my short on Bitcoin. All right, so again, just going back to it, we have a clear breakout short term. Now, please understand, I am a short-term swing trader. This has nothing to do with my long or medium-term analysis. My medium-term analysis still says that Bitcoin is very vulnerable, especially as long as it doesn't get through this key 30,000 level, 30,500 level on the charts. Okay, so again, yes, it's a good little move short term. I do think we could retest 30,500, but as long as that doesn't break, Bitcoin remains extremely vulnerable and in a progressive bear market. All right, now again, the reason why I say that is not that the regulation clarity that is coming isn't going to be good for crypto or Bitcoin. That will be a good factor. What I'm more concerned about is the stock market and the stock market's de-risking impact whenever that comes to fruition on what is going to happen to the crypto markets. Because what we know is historically that Bitcoin continues to be a risk asset. All right, now again, it was clouded because of the regulatory unknowns. You're starting to get a little clarity with this BlackRock ETF, spot ETF filing. So this is the key. If you go to the SPX chart and we look at this chart, right? So again, amazing move to the upside. We're at short-term highs. In fact, the S&P 500 yesterday, or a couple days ago, this was last Friday, we were at around 4,445. That was the highest point going back to over a year ago. It was a 52-week high. Now you might say, wow, that's amazing, but if we look at the equal weight, now this is where I kind of bring people back to reality, right? So as a trader, as an investor, it's my job not to get caught up in hype. It's my job to keep reality, logic, and common sense on my fingertips, because that's how I get through periods. It's when you have irrationality and people chasing Bitcoin at 30,500, I shorted it. I recognized the signals, the chart was telling me that, etc. When Bitcoin was at 69,000, I was shorting it. I recognized the signals, okay? So when you look at the equal weight chart, let's go to the chart here on RSP. This is your equal weight S&P. Now, the reason why the equal weight is important to look at is because it shows us that if every stock was equal in the 500 S&P stocks, this is how the chart looks. Now, this is a big difference because look, just going back to February, we were higher than the current levels on the equal weight. So what does this tell us? This tells us that there's been a group of stocks, all right, in the S&P 500, in the NASDAQ 100, about 10 stocks that have been carrying the market up because they're so massive. Now remember, the way the S&P and the NASDAQ 100 are structured is that depending on your market cap, that's how much weighting you have in the index. So a $1 trillion company, or in the case of Apple, an almost $3 trillion company, will have a massively bigger weighting than a $100 billion company, right? So you have to look at it and say, okay, well, if the equal weight is showing us that this is not a healthy move, it's all sideways chop, yet the S&P or the NASDAQ 100 have made such enormous moves to the upside, then what do we have? Is that really a true picture of the economy, right? Because if the economy is great, then every stock should be doing well. And that's not the case. It's 10 stocks, folks, 10 stocks. All right, doesn't guarantee it. It's all probabilities. So when you look at a chart like this, a one factor gets you 60% probability. If you find two factors get you about 70%. You find three factors or more, you're at 80% probability. What most investors and traders don't understand is they think, oh, there's a trend line there, it's a guaranteed top. No, that's not how trading works. That's not how life works. And I know people are all screwy on their thought processes in life. We see that every day on crypto Twitter or just in Twitter in general. But the key is its probability. So even if you have an 80% success rate, which by the way, I would take that trade every single day, it still means 2 times out of every 10 you're losing. Right? So you have to always remember that. And I always kind of bring that reality to people. But, all right, so what you're looking for the NASDAQ to really put in a top and to be sure of it, number one, we have the Qs chart, but we also want to see those two stocks, NVIDIA and Tesla. Those are the cult following stocks. Those are the ones that people that like to gamble are playing these zero-day options on, and they are driving the price higher. Now, you might say, you know, why do zero-day options drive the market higher? I mean, why, or individual stocks, let's say. I'm going to tell you right now. So when you have people betting, and betting, I'm using that term on purpose, that Tesla is going to close today at 280, let's say, what ends up happening is when people buy these zero-day options and they buy the strike of 280, institutions that are selling these, they can't be caught with their pants down and just be like, oh crap, we just lost a ton of money on options. So when you get so many people buying these outsized calls with strikes above where the current price is, these institutions actually have to buy the stock because they have to protect themselves. By buying the stock, they own that stock. So if they have to give it to those people at 280, they can do that. All right, now if they don't and they sell, you know, let's say $1 billion, and I'm using a big number here, but $1 billion in zero-day options, and they lose X amount of that, that's a huge hit to their bottom line. They're gonna hedge themselves, and they hedge themselves by buying the stock. We saw, by the way, this was one of the key reasons why Tesla in 2021, GameStop, AMC, why these stocks went so crazy. It was partially a short squeeze, but it was also people buying these crazy call options way above the current price. So let's quickly go back to Bitcoin. I want to just show you guys again a couple things. So again, we're still short Bitcoin, but still in the money. But again, I am looking to exit that short for a small gain on a retrace. We should retrace back into the 27,000 range. All right, now what I did was when we saw the altcoin bust a week ago or a week and a half ago, what I did was I said, okay, listen, we're starting to see key technical levels. So here's a chart of Cardano. Let me get rid of these other trend lines, right? So Cardano was coming down and it hit a double bottom, okay? So again, let me erase that. So double bottom on the chart is a potential support. Look at that. So what I did was I picked up some Cardano, I picked up Solana, I picked up Polygon, which is Matic, and that's the key, folks, is that you never want to get hung up on being a bull or a bear. Like there are so many maxis like, oh, I'm only going to ever go long this, or I'm only going to ever go do this. Or I mean, heck, you have people out there that are big names that are like, oh, Bitcoin is crap and it's never going to be anything and it's going to be the next big bust. I don't believe any of that. And frankly, I don't care. Like I literally don't care. You want to tell me where Bitcoin is in 2 years from now? I couldn't care less. All I care about is where it's going when it hits a technical level that it should do something and where it's going to be a week or two later. That's it. Now, do I think there's a need in our economy for Bitcoin? Yes, I do. It drives me insane that the US government can just print, dilute the hard-earned dollars that me and that every one of you make. And by the way, many people watching from all over the world, and you guys are in the same position. There's no central bank out there that hasn't printed money, at least not in the bigger economies. So, keep that in mind, and there is a use case for Bitcoin. And a lot of people will say, well, Bitcoin, what's the real value? All the value is saying, well, someone will pay more for it. But I'm like, and this, I was talking with Ben, my head trader, yesterday. We were talking about this, and it's the bottom line is every asset's like that. The only reason the dollar has value is because people believe that the US government is firm, and therefore they believe that if they buy a dollar or they have a dollar, that it will hold its value. Well, guess what? It's not doing that. But look at gold. I mean, even gold. The only reason 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 years ago, people somehow said this metal is going to be the precious metal that we deem has value, right? It's all the same. It doesn't matter if it's a digital currency or it's gold or it's a stock. I mean, think about this. Why are people buying Tesla today? Why are people buying Nvidia today? Because they believe that it's going to go up and they can sell it to someone else higher. Same concept of why people believe in Bitcoin, which is why I think Bitcoin is a no-brainer future asset, much like gold. Now, do I think people are going to be going into Starbucks buying a cup of coffee with Bitcoin? No. I think it's the digital gold, and I think that's where it's going to be.